Okay, so today is November 10th. It's a Friday, and to sound more smarter, Friday, November 10th, and it's the second game of the year for the University of Georgia men's basketball team. The Georgia Bulldogs will take on the Wake Forest Demon Deacons in a second game of a home and home against the Demon Deacons. As you probably know by now, Georgia played Wake Forest last year and lost 81-71 in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. That game will be completely different than this year's game as Wake Forest now travels to Athens to finish out the home and home in what has been a interesting series between Georgia and Wake Forest. The Dogs have played the Demon Deacons plenty of times, going back to 1912 was the first ever meeting. Georgia won 70-28. They would play in Jacksonville in 1964. Georgia would lose 83-76. They would play in 2000, 2006, 2007. They also would play in 1999, which is arguably I don't want to say best meeting, but probably one of the most historic meetings between the two teams. It was in the Georgia Dome. It was in the Atlanta Classic, and a close game. Georgia won it 68-67. Just to note what quickly happened. Aiden Jones rises up to the hoop. First off, a Wake Forest player rises up to the hoop, lays it in with about 3 seconds left. Georgia throws a full court pass down the court to Adrian Jones. He catches it, leans back, and hits the 3-pointer in a desperation shot. And that's how Georgia won that game with 68-67 on an Adrian Jones desperation 3-pointer. So yeah, that's kind of it. They played in 06 and 07. Georgia lost the game in 06, but then 1-1 in 07, I believe. No, they lost in 2000 and won in 06 and 07. So last year's meeting. Okay, well this is a different Wake Forest team than last year, as the guy they had last year that killed Georgia was Appleby, and he is no longer at Wake Forest. So, and I'm trying to get the stats pulled up. And this is last year's game, so that means all I have to do is just go down. The betting odds to come out Georgia is 2.5-point favorites. I'm not sure how, but I'll definitely take that against Wake Forest. Of course, that stuff doesn't matter unless you are a betting man, which I am not. So, here's last year's game, though, and the final score was 81-71. Georgia did fall, and you would talk a completely different change of teams for both teams. Mardrez McBride had 13 points. Terry Roberts had 13 points. Cario Quindo had 12 points. Kieran Lindsey had 10 points. Justin Hill had 8 points. Braylon Bridges had 6 points. Jusan Holt and Jackson Eder had 5 and 4 points. So you could tell a different lineup than what they had last year for Georgia. And Wake Forest is going to be the same. They had Davon Williamson. He scored 4 points. Tyree Appleby had 6 points. Davin Bradford had 4 points. Andrew Carr had 3 points. Lucas Taylor had 1 point. Cameron Hildreth had 11 points. Had 11 points. And then Zach Keeler had 2 points. So man, you're just looking at a completely different ball game than you were last year. And I mean, and I said this many times during the off season that the people I'm gonna miss the most on last year's team, we seriously do miss Braylon Bridges. And I know everybody's going to disagree with that, George, but if you watch Georgia games, if you know the team, their offense ran through Braylon Bridges. So, I mean, I'm just saying, like, you just don't want to be in a bad position. Wake Forest's starting guards, according to UGAHoopsBlogs.com, Cameron Hildiff, Cameron Miller, and Hunter Sales scored 69 points combined. Well, if that happens to Georgia, then we are in trouble. But their big man, Andrew Carr, Georgia's going to have to stop him. Just a quick recap of the last game. Georgia and Oregon to open the season. The Dogs had a horrible first half, and they never recovered from it. They made it 4 points. They made it 4-6 multiple times. It was a game Georgia did not shoot well. Even the best shooters on the team didn't shoot well. The only really consistent shooter was Jabri Abdul-Rahim. But stats-wise, I mean, Georgia still played good. Good enough in the second half to win, as, in my opinion, Oregon gave Georgia that game multiple times. But here I'll have the stats. Here's the time and everything you need to know. The game starts at 7 o'clock. So pregame will start at 7 o'clock. Or pregame will start at 6:30 on the Bulldog Radio Network. I have to scroll back up and find everything. The game will be on SEC Network. Mike Morgan and Draymond Fishback, color analyst. It will stream on SEC Network Plus. The Georgia Ball Radio Network coverage will start at 6:35 with Scott Howard, Chuck Dowdle, and Adam Gillespie. You listen to the Georgia game. You can listen to Georgia basketball along with football against Ole Miss tomorrow on 7:50 a.m. WSB 95.5 WSBB Dorville, the official flagship of the Georgia Bulldogs. So this is from Georgia's article. This is a few things. Georgia's first 4 matchups Georgia's Wake Forest will be Georgia's first of 4 ACC opponents: Wake Forest, Florida State, Georgia Tech, and Miami. Georgia will play a power conference in its first 5 games. Blah blah blah. I don't think all of this is really important. They're giving out a jersey, an old school throwback jersey tonight as well. So Jabri Abdul-Rahim had 18 points the last time out. RJ Madelrez and Blue Kane had 12 points. Big Russ Tashia had 9 points and 9 rebounds, and Aaron Dish had 4. Aaron Hill, oh God. It's early, folks. Justin Hill dished out 4 assists. Oregon led 11-1, and at that point, you kind of could know that it was going to be in trouble. Georgia is 54-6 in its home openers at Stegeman Coliseum. Georgia is 16-1 in home openers that were not season openers. The match at Wake Forest represents the first time Georgia. 17-18 season, Georgia's home opener was also not the first outing of the season. And you know, man, people were online. People make fun of these teams that schedule these smaller schools to begin the season. I mean, just look at James Madison, right? James Madison beat Michigan State, so you definitely cannot take these smaller teams for granted as you probably think you could, but at the same time, you know, Georgia can be one of the good teams this year in the SEC. You saw most of the SEC won except for Auburn and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt lost to poor Presbyterian, but you know, man, I hate this early in the year to call this game a must-win for Georgia. But I think that everybody in the University of Georgia basketball fandom, which unfortunately is one part of the population at University of Georgia, will believe that this is a must-win game because you could not start the season 0-2. And I kind of agree with that. You know, you really do not want to be starting the season 0-2. That would be a horrible, horrible look for the program. And then not to mention you got Miami, Kansas State of Providence, Florida State, and even the conference play, Alabama, Kentucky, LSU, Tennessee, Arkansas twice. You really just do not want to start 0-2. That would be really, really bad, and that's not what this program needs right now. So people were talking about the starting five. I would probably keep it the same. I mean, you could look, man. The first game of the year is the time to be switching stuff. You know what you want here, what you want there, and you could do that against the little non-conference teams, Alabama A&M, North Florida, and you know, High Point is Mount St. Mary's, but you can't do that when you're playing Wake Forest because, look, man, Wake Forest is historically is a really good basketball team. I mean, Chris Paul, Tim Duncan, there's all kind of NBA talent that has come through Wake Forest. Um, and you know what I'm saying? It's just you do not want to screw around here, and then we're at the last game, the last non-conference game, and we're like 1-10, and then you're like, well, okay, well, you know, we're just starting out our lineup. Like, no, man, we just really need to get a win here tonight. That would cure everything, and then maybe hopefully get us. Well, Sunday should be a win, and I do not mean that in a mean way. Georgia should beat North Carolina. North Carolina Central. They should beat North Carolina Central by 20 or 30 or 40 points even. But just being honest here, they should probably win that game. But that's Sunday. Tonight we have to Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Once again, 7 o'clock tip-off, 6:45 Georgia Radio Network. You can listen on all of the University of Georgia radio affiliates as long as there's a women's game tonight. There is a women's game tonight. They probably will be conflicting in some way. I would probably assume 103.7 to Chuck and WRFC 960 to Raf will be showing the Lady Dogs, depending on which one starts first. They start at 7:30. So that might be 8:30 Central Time. I don't know, or it might be 8:30 here. That's 7:30 Central Time. I don't know, but Georgia has to get a win tonight, and it ain't gonna be easy. Georgia is favored by 2.5, so 3 points. Georgia has to get a win, man, and you know what? They're gonna have to do something because you don't want to be in a bad situation when you hit the Bahamas with your like 1-2 or 0-3. So I think Georgia will win tonight. I would probably see a game, perhaps like the '99 game, right? Georgia comes back. Wake Forest takes the lead late in the game, and then Georgia hits a buzzer beater to win. So that would be nice, but realistically, I don't want a game like that. I just want to see Georgia dominate because we know they can. They've done it plenty of times before. So if Georgia could just come out here and dominate, Georgia would be really, really good. We'll be fine. We could win the game. We could be 1-1. But even if we don't, man, I mean 0-2, we sure to have a win Sunday, right? Hopefully have a win Sunday. But yeah, that's it. Let's go Hoop Dogs and let's beat Wake Forest.